Hello, everybody. Tonight we're doing a live cast on couples privilege. I don't know if anybody's here yet, but
probably not.
It's fine.
Usually takes a little bit for people to trickle in.
Okay, well, I'm gonna do this anyway. The definition of couples privilege I got from an article that I found in Psychology Today. It was actually really neat. It was an article about polyamory and couples privilege, but also a little bit about the relationship escalator. Psychology Today has been doing a lot of stuff like that, which I think is pretty cool. But it says, how one blogger defines couples privilege is the presumption that socially sanctioned pair bondings, relationships involving only two people, such as marriage, a long-term boyfriend or girlfriend, or other forms of conventional, intimate, or life partnerships, are inherently more important or real and valid than other types of intimate, romantic, or sexual relationships, like primary couples or partnerships that are clearly riding society's standard relationship escalator toward the goal, are widely presumed, even within many non-monogamous communities, to warrant more recognition and support than other types of intimate relationships. We did do a live cast on the relationship escalator. If you're like, what the hell is that? And you're interested, you can go back and look at it. But I have some bullet points about why couples privilege can be perceived as negative, or why a lot of the time in the community it's perceived as negative. So it it treats this. Hello, Drew.
Told you I was gonna do
it.
You know that's going on YouTube also, right?
It treats the social commodity of the couple as the end-all be-all goal in society, and that is also what the relationship escalator in the traditional sense does. It devalues personal relationships with friends, family, and other loved ones. It also treats, this was something I just discussed with James a little bit ago, it treats secondary relationships as disposable. If you get rid of the partner instead of figuring out the problem, then that can sometimes be easier. So you just shut out a secondary partner because you already have an existing relationship, because it's easier for you to fall back on the person that you're already with or your primary. So it's easier to make a secondary partner disposable, which is obviously a problem because people don't generally enjoy being viewed as disposable. It can entirely disregard a more egalitarian way of doing polyamory, or that it's even a valid form of relationshiping. So if you're not practicing hierarchy, but you're exhibiting couples privilege and you're riding that relationship escalator, it can be difficult to see how doing things in a more egalitarian way is as valid or as like important as people who have hierarchy. It doesn't allow for a person to pick and choose what they want or don't want from the relationship escalator. So, like, with some partners, like currently with Nate, he's my nesting partner, and I'm choosing to share that with him. But I also have dynamics where I get a lot of emotional support from other partners. So, like, I'm picking and choosing, like, oh, well, I'd rather have this thing or that thing from the escalator with this relationship, but not with that one. And a hierarchy kind of assumes that your primary partner is going to be the one that you're doing most of those things with. It normalizes one person being the one for you and fulfilling all of your emotional needs. It teaches children to rely less on community and family and more on one single soulmate. It actually perpetuates codependency and not having your emotional needs met by more than one person. And even in polyamory, it can tend to put more value on individual couples than on people, community, and their autonomy. So I was thinking about how we see this manifest specifically in the polyamorous community. Because like I said in the last thing, sometimes even in polyamory, when people are practicing couples privilege or hierarchy, it can seem to put more value on couples than on people. And I was hoping that other people would have examples of stuff that they've seen that's couples privilege. I don't know if anybody else is out there right now, but I do have some examples written down. One of the more obvious examples that I thought of that often uses couples privilege is unicorn hunting, which is something that we see a lot in the community. And I want to start this off by saying I understand that my ethics or the ethics of other people might not necessarily be your ethics. But generally speaking, the reason that unicorn hunting is seen as negative in the polyamorous community is because it sort of follows that that idea that a couple and their needs with each other is more important than whoever it is they're searching for, and it kind of automatically puts them in a position of privilege. And so that's generally why unicorn hunting is seen as bad. And other things that sort of go along with that are there's rules like the one penis policy, which is terrible and I hate it. And there's also like people who use polyfidelity a lot to sort of have more control over a person's autonomy. And I don't like that either. And also like dictating rules within that relationship, especially with your third. Another example of couples privilege and how it plays out in the community is people often will put one primary partner's needs over the needs of other partners or friends or family or loved ones. And like this is also, it ends up playing out in a way that is dismissive of conflict, and it doesn't create a safe space for people to talk about their issues as a secondary or express some of their issues that they're having. Like if somebody is very upset about something and it's going to create conflict, but they know that they're not going to be seen as like as important, or that like this issue is going to create anxiety for their partner, and they still have this primary partner to fall back on and they're not going to take it seriously, then that's going to create some pretty serious issues in your relationship. So yeah, that's definitely a big thing. Making rules that dictate relationships and limit personal autonomy is a thing that happens with couples privilege a lot. Especially when those rules are not entirely consensual, they're not made within any kind of kink dynamic or anything, they're not pre-negotiated, and there is little to no agreement, which likely ends up in rules being broken. Mm-hmm. That's a thing.
You don't follow the rules that you don't want to follow.
Yeah. And I did put some examples down of some rules that I've seen generally in the community are like if you're in a triad and you say, I only want to have sex when all of us are together. Yes, and also that. James said also partners who cut and run at any sign of conflict outside of the primary relationship. So if they're like, oh no, my secondary partner actually has feelings and wants things to be different, but I still have this other relationship to fall back on, so I'm done with them.
Mm-hmm. They've become too difficult.
Yeah. And another example of rule making that I've seen, you can only go out with that person once a week, and I don't want you to see them more than once a week.
Or you can only go out if I also am going out.
Yeah, or like.
But that's not exactly couple privilege.
Couples who have a veto rule, which I don't know why, but back when I was a baby poly, I actually thought this was a good idea. And it's terrible, and it's not a good idea. So that's saying that, like, you're seeing your partner and they're with someone else and you don't like that person, so you veto them and say, well, I don't want you to be with them. That is obvious couples privilege. Like, obviously you're telling somebody else that your primary partner is allowed to veto them. Mm-hmm. And say that they can't see you anymore. And that's like a pretty high level of couples privilege. And I think the biggest reason that I used to think this was something that was acceptable is I was like, well, what if the person's being like abusive or something? But once again, you have to take into account autonomy. I mean, you should definitely express your concerns if you think that your partner is being abused by one of their other partners, but it still has to be your partner's choice to leave them. Mm-hmm. So
I had to learn that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, before I move on, does anybody else have any more examples of stuff that they've seen within the community? Because next I'm going to explain hierarchy a little bit more. Would you like to read the definition of hierarchy, Nate?
I could do that. Let me get back to my notes.
Yeah, I got this from relationshipanarchy.com.
Okay. So, what is hierarchy? Hierarchical poly is when there's a ranking system among sexual relationships. At the top is a person's primary. Primaries often live together and share resources, making decisions together, spend most of their time together. And that's from relationshipanarchy.com.
Yeah.
And now you can tell us the difference between prescriptive and descriptive hierarchy.
Okay, so prescriptive versus descriptive hierarchy is a little bit different, because prescriptive hierarchy is saying I absolutely have this one primary partner and they are my most important partner, and that's just how it is, and having your other people that you're with accept that. Mm-hmm. And descriptive hierarchy is more like I live with this person and we share finances and resources, and therefore we kind of have a descriptive hierarchy because I end up spending more time with them. Mm-hmm. And that relationship therefore ends up taking more importance or significance in my life because of that. Obviously those are two different things. And like having a partner that you share all of those things with, and having descriptive hierarchy can cause issues with other partners, but it's usually, in my experience with seeing other people, yes. It's usually more of an issue when there's prescriptive hierarchy, which, as James just said, it allows no room for change and growth and escalation or de-escalation. So say you were like, okay, well, I want to live, this is Sam, and he's dating Carol and Susie, and he's living with Carol, but Sam wants to live with Susie, or wants to stay with Susie for a little while, but they have a prescriptive hierarchy. So So she's like, well, no, you can't do that because we have our primary relationship and this is how I want to keep things.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a pretty good example of couples privilege.
They're saying, no, you can't move out.
Yeah.
You're not allowed.
And I think that actually did a pretty good job of explaining how hierarchy and privilege kind of go hand in hand and perpetuate the other. But like, so if you're treating your relationships in that way and you're having hierarchical relationships, like sort of just ends up that couples privilege plays a part because you're automatically putting that one other person before the rest of your partners. And so hierarchy can often definitely create couples privilege and issues with that.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I had was explaining why some people choose. Well, in my experience, a lot of people choose not to do hierarchy, even though you hear so much about it. Like, I'm one of those people who I don't like the idea of having a primary and secondary partners. And that's because I feel like it creates a lot of issues.
It does.
And the inability to be flexible. And this kind of also goes with the next thing that I was going to talk about, which is when you think you don't have hierarchy, but you do. And they refer to that often as sneakyarchy, which I was reading a little bit about that before I actually got on the live cast. And I was reading in Polyland, which is a blog that I sometimes follow.
I really like them.
Yeah. And they talked a little bit about how sometimes honest hierarchy can be better to admit that's a thing that's happening than dishonest egalitarianism. So if you're trying really hard to make everything equal always and fair, and you feel like things are like there is hierarchy that's sneaking in, and you're worried that you're putting the needs or wants or whatever of you and a partner that you spend a lot of time with over others, and then just trying to deny that and be dishonest about it, being like, no, I would never do that because I don't do hierarchy, then obviously that can be very psychologically damaging to your other partners who are seeing it happen,
but you're behaving in a hierarchical way.
But you're not admitting to that. And I have friends and partners and people in the community who I've known who have said, no, I actually do. I do invest more time in this relationship, and I'm willing to admit that because sometimes that can create issues with me having as much time for other things, but I want to be honest with you about it so that later on, if it becomes a problem, that's a thing. And I really appreciate it when people do that instead of trying to lie or beat around the bush or whatever just to make things equal, because then they're not actually equal anyway, and you're just being dishonest. And I guess with that, I sort of explained this already, but obviously the word sneakyarchy is the portmanteau of sneaky and hierarchy, and that's exactly what it is. It's a hierarchy that isn't presented honestly, and it kind of sneaks its way in. It's secret and sneakily implemented and not expressed or acknowledged. And, that in its own way, like I just said, can create some pretty serious problems. And I was talking to Nate earlier about, do you have examples of sneakyarchy? And the one that you said was you're sitting there and you're talking, and instead of talking for just yourself, you're talking about you and your nesting partner as a we, or the both of us, without knowing really, or talking to them about what their opinion is on the subject.
Yeah,
that
does automatically it automatically assigns the primary couple as a singular entity. in the conversation. Because it's not she and I, or the two of us, there's we. We discuss this, and now you're just going to hear our decision.
Yeah. So I don't have any more notes.
No, that was as far as
And
we had
nobody's
in
really
notes.
been saying anything.
And
Does
There's not
anybody
a lot
have
of commentary, so-
any questions or anything to add? Any of their own experiences with couples privilege or hierarchy? I'd really like to hear any of that.
Because we're willing to hang out and talk. We just need something to talk about.
This is what happens when I do this by myself. It's like I don't have enough content. Oh no.
I'm not invisible. You're not by yourself.
Well, I meant the notes when I do the notes by myself.
Oh,
which
well,
I
you didn't do the notes by yourself
I
either.
mostly did. I'm just saying, like, I always end up not having enough written down content.
My hair is getting crazy.
Oh gosh!
You weren't scrolling down.
I wasn't, apparently.
That is the problem.
Hi, everybody, by the way. Oh, yeah. Couples privilege with newer dynamics. Right? Flail.
You have to scroll down to see the comments.
Yeah, I thought I had. Anyway, so the thing that Ray said about couples privilege in relation to longevity, newer dynamics versus older ones, even without prescriptive hierarchy, that's definitely a thing. You're very silly. That's why we love you. But yeah, so that's a thing without even trying. And that's not a thing that I think is easy to get away from. But when you know somebody so well because you've been with them for years, that can be very intimidating to new partners and newer dynamics. And it can definitely feel like there's a power imbalance there because, like, this person already knows my partner so well. And, like, how do I even... And it's like, I guess for me, I felt like...
I remember that. Yeah, I remember. Are you okay?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so Deborah was saying that she was having some issues understanding that. So, like, an older, a couple that's been together longer versus a newer
A
dynamic.
more recent
So, oh gosh, sorry. I'm fine, I swear. I've had too much caffeine today. So Nate and I have been together for almost 6 years. So, like, our dynamic versus my dynamic with Sarah, who I just literally started dating. So, like, that is an example of, like, we've been together forever versus I have a new dynamic with this person, and how that plays into everything, like how new partners feel about an established partnership with their partner already has, and how that can sort of, yeah, play into power dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
So I
if
think
you figure that out, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's somewhat like it's a comfort thing. Like if you're telling them, you're very important to me, and reminding them that they are, I think that that's really important. I feel like my partners do that. Like because I have partners who have had other partnerships for a long time, and I feel like they do make me feel important enough that I don't feel like threatened by it or anything. But also, I do think that it's somewhat, this is unfortunate, on the newer person to understand that it doesn't mean that they're less important, and to talk about their insecurities, like to say, hey, the fact that you've been with them forever makes me feel really insecure and it's scary.
And as long as they look at it from the perspective of it's a race, they'll never catch up, because that's not how time works.
Yeah.
Like they'll never know you as long as that other partner.
Yeah,
they'll never happen.
They'll never have the same memories or have been there for those times. I mean, you can't change that, but yeah, James said making active time for new partners is good, like, planning certain days and dates, setting up traditions with new partners. I loved what you said about how you and Nikki made your own holidays. That's so cute. That's a good example.
It's a little bit of a bad tradition, but Corey and I have our smoking tradition.
Yeah.
We're both going to quit smoking eventually, but it'll go away, but we both light our
Getting to know your metamors is hugely and wonderfully, I know that not everybody likes to do that, and some people really prefer to practice parallel polyamory, but I think that getting to know your metamors can be extremely helpful. I'm really good friends with some of my metamors, so I'm going to go back and look at all the things you said. I'm sorry.
Oh, goodness, there's a lot.
And Nikki said mentioning how heteronormativity plays into imbalanced dynamics. That's definitely a thing, especially when I was talking about unicorn hunting, of course, but having a partner, if you are in a relationship that's societally viewed as straight, like you're a woman with a man or a man with a woman, and you're a bisexual person or queer person, and you date somebody of the same gender or a non-binary person, then that person can definitely end up feeling less important, especially less socially important or societally important. It's always very important to make that new partner who you're in a queer dynamic with, feel like you are not ashamed to be with them. Like take them out on dates and show them off and be like, I'm okay with this, I love this person, so that they don't feel like you're somehow ashamed to be with them, because you have a heteronormative dynamic that you're fine with showing off. That's the thing. Which I've even struggled with that and internalized shame from I was raised in the church for so long. And I do still struggle with showing off my queer partnerships in general, because I get scared that I'm going to get hurt or something by some random dickwad. So yeah, I definitely get that, but I try really hard not to be like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and if one partner is monogamous and another is polyamorous, I sometimes I forget that that's a thing, but that's definitely a thing.
It absolutely
and
is.
It can I would imagine that definitely can make a new partner, if you and your new partner are both poly, but you have a monogamous partnership with someone else, that could make it feel like that's more important to you, or automatically has some couples privilege there, especially if you're on the relationship escalator with that person.
I'm sorry to hear that, Deborah.
That's really
cool.
awful. I'm sorry. hopefully, someday that won't be a thing anymore.
Yeah. We're going to be trying to do something about stuff like that.
And yeah, definitely meeting your metamors can help you remember that they're just people. Just like you, they're not some idea that you have in your head of them like that, because that can be really scary until you get to know them. Yeah. So Ray said figuring out reasons for certain power structure is like, are you financially entangled with one partner and not another because they just happen to come first? Or is it because you or happen to be around longer? Or is it because it makes more sense with them because they're at a similar level of financial stability? Or because you're in a dynamic where one person supports another through an illness, etc. And I could actually talk a little bit about that in my own life, because like I guess that part of the reason that I became financially entangled with Nate was because we were together first, but like the reason we've mostly stayed that way, and like I'm thinking about and starting to plan moving out on my own for the first time in years, because I'm looking for student employment, and I'm doing better physically than I used to be, to a point where I actually can work. But for a little while, yeah, we were definitely entangled because he was helping me through my illness, especially when it was at some of its worst points. Like, I was very sick and my treatment hadn't started working yet, and I couldn't work. And I had very little spoons, and I had a hard time leaving the house and stuff. So that can definitely be a thing, that somebody is helping you. Oh, thank you. I really do like my hair. I think it looks nice.
I need to fix mine again soon.
Yeah. You were the interrupting chicken.
Yes. If you missed it, wait till the live video gets uploaded and go back to the beginning.
It would have been funnier if there had been more people at the time, but it's fine.
You can all go back and watch it later.
By
and
the
it'll
way,
be on YouTube.
In case you're like, well, I'm sitting here and I can see the comments, why are you reading them? It's because we upload this to YouTube as well. And we want everybody who's looking at it on YouTube to be able to see or know what the commentary was. About. Yeah. Hi, Sarah. We kind of went over all of our notes already. Sorry about that.
We're just about
right now.
Done.
We're just kind of getting commentary from everybody on couples privilege and hierarchy.
That's a good question.
What conversations and questions can you ask to detect couples privilege? Oh.
You mean the person? You said one like. The person has spoken.
Oh my gosh.
Who was it? Of course.
What conversations and questions can you ask to detect couples privilege? Oh.
What's the sleeping arrangement? That's a good one. Like how, like, yeah. If it maybe not. I mean, a couple can share a single bedroom and not necessarily be couples privilege, but
I mean,
if they have separate sleeping areas, then it's less likely, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say scenarios. That's really good. Like, okay.
The chicken was your fault. Right?
Well, let's go back to Sam, Susie, and Carol.
Okay.
So, because Sam is dating Susie and Carol in my fictional world, and Sam is nesting partners with Susie, that he's out with Carol, and it's Friday night, and they went to the movies, and they went to dinner. And Susie texts Sam because she's lonely and sad. So does Sam therefore automatically text her back and go running home because she's lonely and sad? Or does he be like, hey, I'm sorry you're feeling that way, but I'm on a date with Carol right now, so you're just going to have to deal with it? Or they don't text back right away, you know, or say like, or they just wait until they get home to talk about it. Obviously, it's good to talk about your insecurities, but if somebody is willing to automatically run away from a situation because their primary partner is sad and not dealing with their own feelings, then that's a pretty good example of couples privilege, I think. If anybody else wants to give a different scenario besides my Sam, Susie, and Carol. The elf. I do like the elf pajamas.
So do we have any idea what the next live cast we're gonna do is gonna be on?
I was just looking at that earlier because I was trying to figure it out, and you could do that. But I was looking it over, and the last video that I did with James on boundaries versus agreements versus rules, that hasn't been uploaded yet, but it's going to be. And then we'll upload this one. And I think the next thing on the list is jealousy versus envy. I guess we haven't done that one yet. So
that's a good one.
That is a good one.
We don't want to skip that. I'm just excited to eventually do one on poly in the media, because there's a lot more of it now. And there's actually stuff to talk about with poly in the media.
Intimacy at a partner's place. Also, does the one who texts expect the other partner to drop everything and feel entitled to that and get mad if it doesn't happen? Entitlement. Yeah. If you expect the person to stop what they're doing and answer your text and come home, then that's definitely entitlement, and you're probably exercising couples privilege. Intimacy at a partner's place. So I'm going to ask for a little bit of elaboration on that, James, but do you mean like if I'm with if I'm at my house where I live with my nesting partners and a different partner is there, like, can I make out and have sex with them or whatever in the house where I live with my nesting partner? Or is that what you mean?
That sounds about right, yeah.
I assume that's what you mean, but that's
that's definitely couple privilege.
I mean, if your partner is uncomfortable with you doing intimate things in a bed that they regularly sleep in, then
that's
you might want to and you also, I feel I've told people you might want to consider having separate beds or sleeping in separate rooms or whatever, so that isn't a discomfort thing that happens. Oh yeah, or even cuddling. Yeah, if they tell you you can't bring a partner back and cuddle with them on the couch, that's probably a good indicator that there's some couples privilege going on there. Did I miss anything?
I don't know. Let's see. I don't think so.
I don't think I did.
Does anybody else have any more questions or comments or
I was thinking
stuff for the good of the group?
this is like not specifically related to this topic. Expecting the that's a thing.
That is a thing.
Yeah.
That is absolutely a thing.
I mean, that's fine if you're okay with that, talked about it and agreed to it beforehand. But if they just expect to be able to be in that scenario, then that's pretty.
You're gonna
that's
want to
pretty
read that.
indicative of
because-
couples privilege. Oh yeah. Oh, Ray said a partner expecting to watch other sex acts, come along on dates, or be involved in a relationship between their partner and the other person.
That is a very big, bright red flag for couples privilege.
Yes, it's my favorite thing when I'm trying to go on a date or something with someone on Tinder and they're like, or trying to like hook up and they're like, oh yeah, as long as my boyfriend can be there. And I'm like, no. Thank you. Have a nice day. Yeah. Oh, your niece is dealing with that? Ew. I'm sorry.
Oh. That's a yikes. It's a pair of nikes. Nope and yikes.
Also date my boyfriend. Yeah, pretty much.
That one hurts. That one hurts in a personal place.
Okay, so I'm just gonna talk while y'all think about things, and if you want to mention there are things on this topic, you can go ahead and do that. But I was thinking earlier about how much I want to have an intro song, especially now that Nikki made us those adorable little chibis.
I want one.
It would be for every member of the admin team, but you don't have to do that. One of us can also do it.
I can possibly.
But
it won't look the same though because your style is unique.
But yeah, I was thinking, oh, I really want to do like an intro video, and I
could make them dance though.
Maybe
once
I should
have them.
Maybe I should ask, or like, if you know how to, do you know how to do video editing well enough to do that?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. So we could do that and find music from the public domain, unless somebody wants to. Like, I wouldn't mind making a song. I just don't know how I would record it and have it be any kind of good quality. Like,
isn't your partner an audio person?
Oh yeah, I guess I could get George to help me with that. I was forgetting about that. He. It's not like we would have access to a studio here.
I know
though.
that, but
He's
he could
in
help
freaking
you still.
Cambridge, but yeah.
Oh, hey, there's more things.
Repeat unicorn hunters this morning in Discord. No, I did not hear about that.
Oh, I did. I remember the story. That was where they did the threesome walk.
Oh yeah. Okay, I do remember that. Yeah. How do you explain that unicorn hunting is disrespectful? It seems at times couples don't even realize they're doing it. I mean,
hit
yeah.
the nail on the head. Like they just. This is a bad thing.
Like, yeah. If you send them to the Unicorns R Us site, or if you send them to more than two on the section on couples privilege or unicorn hunting. Like, but most people don't want to admit that's a toxic thing, is not wanting to admit that you're doing anything wrong or that your views might have some sort of heteronormative misogyny or any of that behind them or privilege or whatever. People don't like being told that they're coming from a place of privilege.
I don't think it is greater towards men, women, or whoever. I think everyone is susceptible to couples privilege.
Yes, but also I do definitely, I mean, it's hard to, like, like I know that you don't do this, at least not for a long time. But I do feel that there are a lot of men in the polyamorous community, especially who are part of a unicorn hunting couple, that sort of expect that fidelity, especially like, and also they devalue the relationships between women and other women. And that's definitely a thing. And I wouldn't say that I necessarily think that they expect it more, but they do have, there are a lot of men who are coming from a toxic place where they have expectation or entitlement, I should say.
Oh, yeah, Deborah, Unicorns R Us is an excellent place that describes what unicorn hunting
Ray
is.
said, I feel like often when it's a straight man with a bi woman, yes, because that's what I was just saying. Often they don't see her other relationships as valid when they're with a woman because of heteronormativity. What sort of questions do you ask? I didn't realize Unicorns R Us was a real thing. Yeah, that is, yeah.
It's a great thing.
One time someone accused me of unicorn hunting and I didn't know what it was. So after they explained it to me, I got really excited because, oh my God, I'm a unicorn. Then they realized I was really just looking for friends. Is Field Witches specifically like Tinder for oh my God, I remember that fucking app.
The
Tinder for three-ways.
Friender.
Yeah.
They wanted to call it Friender, but then it didn't
Yeah.
catch on.
Files for folks to
Yes, we absolutely can do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
We can do that. We'll post it.
I think it's in the Discord that I have the polyamory resources channel, but we could actually just make a post because I realize I've never done that in the Facebook group. That's just polyamorous resources.
And we could pin that because we should.
Yeah. And ask what their dynamic is and ask them exactly what they're looking for. That's probably a good idea.
Being straightforward is always a good option.
Oh gosh.
And you were worried.
What?
That people weren't.
I know. And then you were all like, oh, the comments and discussion, but it's good because like I don't have enough content.
Oh yeah, no, we ran out of
talk.
notes at like 20 minutes. So we've just been kind of rambling off of your comments for the last half an hour.
I like to hear what people have to say about this stuff.
This for the Ein.
For the Ein.
I like it better for the Ein.
Angry react.
Angry react.
Being straightforward is great, but some folks are a little too straight and a little too forward. Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
If they don't like me being blunt, then they don't like me at all. That is definitely, yeah. Oh, goodness, Sarah. Yeah, and if you feel like they're asking what they want, or when you ask what one partner wants, they respond with both of them want, there's couples privilege.
That's what I was saying earlier about treating it like they're one thing instead of two people.
James is sending me messages being like, scroll down. I like that though. I'm going to save that quote. Some folks are a little too straight and a little too forward.
I need more coffee. But I suppose soda will do.
There's coffee still downstairs in the kitchen.
Oh.
I heated some up earlier.
We'll have to do that after we're done then.
Anybody else have anything they would like to add? Oh, I always stress that I like individual relationships and it's not a couples thing. And that's, it took me longer than I like to admit to realize that
Same.
that's a thing. So we'll just pretend that I was always enlightened and awesome and good at polyamory.
Yeah, always. Never. Those are the dark ages. They didn't happen.
We don't talk about the dark times.
I don't know. Do you have their email?
I have that thought every time I drink something with a brand on it in a video. I'm like, God, I hope I don't get sued. I want to get to know someone and have them constantly acting like it's what both people want to meet them and find that it's...
One two-headed, four-armed, multi-person hedge demon. I'd be so pleased. I know you would.
It's what we want.
There is no Dana, only Zool. Sure. Drew would like to come join us for something. Hopefully you can take them seriously while they are dressed like a chicken.
Oh, I'm not expecting to be taken seriously at all.
Okay.
Hi, interrupting chicken back. Yeah, questions about being in a successful triad, because I know those are kind of rare, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're 0 for 2, so...
For 2. Yeah.
Yeah, we might be adding a 4th person, and we're trying to figure out, how that would even, we're calling it a coven at this point.
A coven?
I mean, that works. I would just call it a polycule. But a coven
Super
works.
serious chicken. And I love you, random stranger.
That's a ray.
That is
a
a
ray.
I just wanted to
And
make
not
that
a
reference.
disarray.
Oh, I didn't understand the reference.
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
understand the random stranger reference. Am I not nerdy enough? My nerd cred, it hurts.
I'm just discussing with Ray because I realized that we're in a triad. I was like, wait, are we doing that thing?
There's a new comment.
There are new comments, but they aren't scroll.
Scroll. You have to use 2 fingers on the Mac.
Okay,
sorry.
well, I don't... Mac, you Mac. So, Mac instead of phone.
Oh my god, instead of triads, it's
How-
called Mac and Threes.
How do you make a successful triad start? Ray would like to know. I am the disarray.
I feel like that's also largely dependent on the people that are going to be in it. Like, for me, Billy, and Jay, I started talking to Billy first, and then I met Jay, and we really hit it off. And then we were all like, we're going to start doing things together because we enjoy doing things together.
Yeah.
And then that just is kind of how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like a couple should really, unicorn hunt, go out and look for specifically another person to join them, because that's kind of doomed to fail,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But if everybody gets along and you all enjoy doing things together, then I feel like that's...
I think that's a good... every triad I've ever been in was an accident. I just want to... It was an accident.
It did not happen through unicorn
I
hunting,
still don't
coercion,
understand how it
or
keeps happening.
it just is what happened.
Hey, you want to smack my partner with a crop and draw on them? Shh.
Are there any other questions? My eyesight's so bad.
No.
Okay.
I don't know it. What is "do you need keys" referring to?
Who needs keys for what, Ray?
Sounds gay, I mean.
That's definitely a thing.
Ah, yes.
It can contribute to couples' privileges, age, and experience differences, Nikki said. To start the triad, do you need keys?
Ah.
Triad vroom vroom.
These are the people.
I mean, I can't really be mad at them for not being serious. I am in a chicken onesie.
This is a valid point, and I am wearing a Kingdom Hearts shirt.
This is getting off track. That tends to happen with us.
Getting off track. What
Okay.
track?
The thing about the age and experience, one of my partners is 29, the other one's 35, I'm 20.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I kind of feel like I'm going, not all triads, but,
Hashtag.
but no, my two partners are really good at, like, explaining things to me, and they make me feel comfortable enough to be like, hey, I don't understand this thing, or why is this a thing, or I'm questioning this thing. And they're pretty good at explaining it. And I just really successful triads. I feel like they need a lot more communication than like couples or couples with other partners, because you are not just dealing with problems between two people, you're dealing with problems between three people, and holy shit, it gets intense. But
We have experience.
yeah.
I'm currently in a 3-person dynamic. I'm not calling it a triad anymore because I feel like that's bad luck for me. But I was gonna say
3-person dynamic takes a lot longer, but okay.
But I was gonna say, like, one of us is older significantly, 10 plus years, and then Ray is a little bit younger than me. And hilariously enough, I don't feel like Caleb is the most mature one. So
I kind of get that. But
they are the one with the best jokes, though.
they've probably heard more. And I have to quickly mention Nikki's comment. Why couldn't Sora, Riku, and Kairi just be a healthy triad? I know. I would love it if that was what happens. Wait, how old is who? Me?
Me!
You? Oh. I'm 33.
I'm 20.
I'm old.
Any more questions for the chicken?
Any more questions for the chicken? That's good advice. Yes.
I feel like
Yes.
in my dynamic, we're all the mature one at different times. Because, like, sometimes I'll be like, I just want juice. And then they're like, we are at a party, drink wine, I want juice. And, like, that's all of us at different times.
Yeah. No, I could see each of you acting like that at different times.
Oh, yeah, we're all toddlers. We're all toddlers, and someone gave us our adulting card, and it was a bad idea.
They shouldn't have done that.
No.
You're elder. I love that you're older. The oldest person in your dynamic is your elder. Sorry, we're disengaging. The internet keeps glitching. That is okay, James. It does depend on people and their maturity
It does
levels.
very much depend on the individual people, because I've known people who are very young who have a lot of maturity, and I've known people who are very not young. And
They old shit.
Very not young.
I didn't want to say old. It feels mean.
my pap, well, then again, pap's kind of like a walking dad joke sometimes, but he's definitely very
He's a walking
silly.
dead joke?
Yes, he makes a lot of dad jokes.
He
If
does.
you didn't know if you've been around my pap
No, I
long
have.
enough, but
Yes.
I was gonna say that he's very silly for someone who's 84. Age is.
He's a very jovial person.
Yeah, I feel like I can definitely be serious and get shit done, but afterwards I'm curling up and watching Disney.
Yes.
Yeah, same. I literally did that yesterday. I adulted all day and then I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go color.
So we've been live for about an hour now. Anybody want to ask or comment
Anything
final
else?
things?
Thanks, y'all. We made it to an hour because of you.
Yeah, we were done with all of our notes by 20 minutes in, so this last 40 minutes was just all you.
Someone 60. Okay. I'm 29 now, but at 26, I was dating someone 60. I think the biggest thing is, can they treat you based on your ability and maturity level instead of talk down to you? And if you are struggling with something because of age and inexperience, can they give you space to learn and grow instead of taking over? Offering guidance is good. Being a parent is bad, unless that's your kink. Yes.
Yes.
Ray said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd agree with that. That like, not being condescending if you're older than one of your partners is good.
I
And
don't care if they're
also-
older or younger than me. If they're condescending, they're out.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
Chicken suit or not, I am not going to be talked down to.
You are a chicken.
Does anybody have anything else to add or end with?
No.
Okay, I will do that. Okay, so if that's it, then
We will
we're
be back in
going
2
to
weeks.
end the live video. I believe the next live video we're going to have is going to be on jealousy versus envy. And no, I don't know which of us are doing that one yet.
No.
We will figure that out.
Somebody will be doing a live cast in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Deborah. And yes, I'll try not to have it like lapse like that again. I was kind of anxiety
It
spiraling.
was also holidays. It was
Yeah.
recovering from all
It's like,
that. And
what happened with time?
so many things.
The
were
holidays
going on,
happen and time doesn't exist. Okay.
Time is an illusion.
Time is an illusion.
So thank you everybody for coming and listening.
There goes the chicken.
I'm commenting. And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.